1994, May 10, when President Mandela was inaugurated from prison to the presidency, Nigeria was equally ignored. As a matter of fact, notwithstanding the fact that the Mandela election had been annulled, it was the only Nigeria recognized to be in the state box with Mandela and members of his family and leaders of Southern Africa. Abacha was outside, which was also one of the things we learned angered Abacha. So on one occasion, Mandela had to call him to order. You know Mandela? When this fellow wanted to go to Iraq, Bush, he said, well, I'm going to report you to your father. And you know when an African says that, that means you are not well brought up. But that was Mandela, the moral leader in the world. He told Abacha off that you have to release people you are detaining. What is wrong with you, this young man? Abacha then abused the young man that, well, Mandela had been in prison for too long, so he didn't even know what was going on. But when Mandela was informed of what Abacha said, he said, I want to believe he was misquoted. And of course, very curiously, Abacha denied. Abacha claimed he was misquoted on that occasion. But one thing that happened, we must all recognize, when Kesarowa was going to be killed, the Commonwealth Conference was going on in Auckland. The Commonwealth had just set up a panel headed by Mandela. And it was believed by the whole world that if Mandela landed in Abuja and told Abacha, you can't kill this man, he won't do it. But as soon as Mandela was appointed, this fellow, what's his name? Foreign minister, that was abusing everybody. This is Tommy Kini. Drunk, came out, rushed out of the hall to inform Abacha. These people have asked President Mandela to come to Abuja, and you know if he comes, we can't do anything. So don't worry. That night, Abacha said, Ken and others should be killed. But that was the moral weight of Mandela. So when people say Nigeria was not recognized at the burial, frankly speaking, even if we are the organizers of that program, I'm not sure we would have recognized President Goodluck.
That is true.
Because you also have a Goodluck in South Africa now, Zuma, who was booed. If you remember, he was booed several times at that program. At a stage, they had to call Bishop Tutu to come and appeal to people. But that is the tragedy of Africa. So when we are here to celebrate Mandela like the whole world has done, we must also take the appropriate lessons home. People are asking, when next are you going to have another Mandela? I once attended a program in South Africa and the old man was there, I think 1995, and I said, sir, you could only have survived your ordeal in a South African prison. If you had gone, been in jail in any other African country for 27 years, it's not even possible you will have died a long time. Again, that's another challenge to us. Any of us who have been to South Africa, you cannot but recognize the fact that apartheid also contributed to the development of that country. And that was why I saw South Africa one day. Mbeki was in the battle in the 70s. When he was vice president, and I said, comrade, your wealth is here. He said, what do you mean? I said, I can see the wealth of South Africa here. He said, it's at a cost. I said, well, many Africans would have wanted this kind of cost. Which is what has happened now. I think my wife and I were watching the telly 2 days ago. And I said, no, just yesterday, come and see snow in America, snow in China. And you know, I said, God, I think you overbless Nigeria. If we have snow here, we'll have fixed electricity. Otherwise, we'll not have frozen to death. So when we are celebrating Mandela, we must see the challenge of leadership, not just for Nigeria, but all African countries. Yes, our leaders or rulers have celebrated Mandela very powerful condolence messages from all of them, all. But I can tell you, as far as they are concerned, Mandela is gone. But for us who are concerned about the future of our country and about the future of our children, what are the lessons to draw from the Mandela example? When we are now recalling the past, we must clearly link the past with the present and see how we can project into the future. Let me just say this, because while we are talking of corruption here, it's important that Mandela did not allow corruption while he was president. But one thing, South Africa is one of the youngest African countries, yet it has the most relevant, most beautiful constitution in the entire continent. In South Africa, socio-economic rights are also enforceable in the courts. One missing element, which I just will reveal now, is that Mandela came out of prison. He believed that injustice would be perpetrated, economic injustice, if nationalization was not carried out. Unfortunately, we had the Minister of Finance, one Trevor, and Mbeki, who convinced the old man about the world has moved away from nationalization. Now it's market forces. And I'm sure that was one of his greatest regrets, that on coming out of prison, South Africa was not reorganized along the economic line. Today, South Africa has one of the highest poverty rates in the world, because the wealth of that country is still exclusively in the hands of the former oppressor, the whites. And so South Africa has merely postponed the youthful day, which is why the old man in Zimbabwe, Mugabe, no matter what anybody may say about him, as far as Zimbabweans are concerned, and people in the Southern African region, he has solved the land question. Although I met the old man one day and I said, "You are a lawyer, I think you made a mistake." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You shouldn't have used force." He said, "Well, come, what would I have done?" I said, "Since the land of your country was acquired for public purpose, and the apartheid or the colonial masters gave it to private farmers, under the law, you are supposed to take the land back to the owners, because they were no longer being used for public purpose." He said, "Well, anyway, we have taken over the land." We are forgetting about forget legal, technicality. We are taking over the land. For most people in the Southern African region, that has to be done. In our own country, we also must take our resources back, yes, from those who are taking it. Just last week, you were told that $50 billion is missing.
All right, now it's another missing.
And $50 billion is enough to wipe out poverty from this country. But we have now been told after a meeting that it's no longer missing. They say what they are now tracing is $10 billion. But of course, if one fella will call government magic,